And welcome back to the show. The Power of One Foundation is a not-for-profit organization with a focus that's on fighting hunger as well as poverty, providing food assistance and vital resources to vulnerable communities and individuals in Orange County, California, as well as beyond. The foundation's purpose is to empower residents in underserved communities to become leaders within those communities, regardless of their country of origin, race, gender, or socioeconomic status. Their vision: feeding those who are hungry, loving those who are alone, serving where there's a need, and making a significant impact in ending hunger and poverty, both locally and globally. We're pleased to be joined by Roberson, who is the executive director of the Power of One Foundation, who now gives us a little bit more about this wonderful organization. And Andre, great to have you.
Thank you for having me, Daren. I'm excited to be here and love doing what we're doing and love sharing any information we can that lets the community and let people within America know what we're doing during this time, during the COVID pandemic crisis.
Yeah, I think the COVID-19 pandemic crisis brought a lot of things out. And I mean, we found a lot of holes that need to be filled. But then we found a gap that really came when it came to the issue of hunger. With more and more Americans being laid off, more children not having access to meals, hunger became paramount. So give us a little bit about the Power of One and how you guys are actually helping to address that issue, particularly in this pandemic.
Well, for us, we have been doing food for the last 15 years, doing distributions, feeding low-income families, and feeding the homeless. We have a kitchen that feeds the homeless 5 days a week. So when the pandemic hit about February into March, I was just led inside of myself to start doing weekly distributions because I was kind of tracking what it was doing in China before it got here, and I was praying that it would not get to us the way that it got to China. But once it started to get out here and we started to see the numbers spike and what it was doing in California, we decided to start doing weekly distributions. And what I did was talk to my food vendors and said, hey, you know what? I need enough food for 10,000 people because I saw it. So my first distribution I did, which was actually fell on my monthly distribution, I ended up with 10 miles worth of traffic.
Wow.
And from there, the police department shut me down three weeks in a row. But it let me know what the need was, how desperate the need was during the pandemic, and it really let me know, wow, this pandemic has really arrived. Then once we started quarantining and everybody had to stay at home, nobody's working, business owners are losing their jobs, you got employees that are getting furloughed, and you have people that are just being let go. So you accumulate that with the recipe of COVID-19, have a lot of need that's needed in our communities, and a lot of us had to team together to be able to support the people within our communities.
Yeah, you talked about, let's go back here for a minute. So you started out and you had a distribution. As you had this distribution, you're saying you've got miles of cars who are trying to really get to you, and the police shut you down?
Yeah, the police shut me down. They were like, okay, you know what? It's public safety, because I had, when you got a mile, 10 miles down, and people are in your line and people are cutting in and out, there's people getting out of their cars about to fight, because I've had people in my line for 2 or 3 hours waiting to get food. There's people that had to get out of the line just simply because they had their child with them and they had to go to the bathroom. So these things that I felt also too that needed to be worked on. But for me, I was glad that the police department partnered with me, instead of just shutting me down and saying, oh, you can't do this, because they saw the need as well. So it was an area for me to be able to partner with the police department to create that type of relationship with them.
Yeah, it's important, I think, that, that we understand the magnitude of hunger and the amount of people who are really dealing with this issue on a daily basis. And I know that, you've got your organization that's doing boots on the ground out there in California, but you also talked about California and beyond. So give us a little bit about the work that's going on, not just in California, but across the United States.
Well, for the last 5 years, what we've done is we've sent over 3 million pounds of food to Mexico. We've also sent resources into Guatemala. For us, we had the opportunity of building relationships early to be able to make that happen. So we've been able to go into colonies. Also built a relationship with the UCLA Medical Center. So we combine food and medical supplies that we sent over into different areas of Mexico, all the way from Chiapas into Tijuana. And then beyond that, we've created partnerships with Kia in California to be able to create a base model by way we can use their stores for distributions all across the United States to be able to feed people within the surrounding communities of that particular IKEA, which is the model that we're testing out right now with the IKEA in Costa Mesa.
Mm. And when we talk about this, I mean, there was an issue before COVID-19. What have you seen since COVID-19 in the area of food insecurity?
Well, out here in California, 1 in 7 people have experienced food um, lack of food resources. So when you start looking at the COVID-19 pandemic, this took everything and amplified where you had to feed one family. Now you have to automatically feed 10 families. So it increased all numbers. You go from doing a normal monthly distribution where you're covering anywhere from 500 to 1,000 families to where now we're feeding over 100,000 individuals on a weekend.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. And then when we talk about, the partnership, tell me about the partnership that you have in terms of, you're able to distribute food, but you're also able to have these wonderful partners that actually help you to be able to do that. Talk to me about that partnership and also them recognizing the need.
Absolutely. So when we got into the pandemic, number one, we're a small organization. We're not your Red Cross. We're not, your Food for Hunger. For us, we were a small organization that actually grew really big. So we needed a lot of financial resources and other in-kind resources to keep up with the demand that we were having every Saturday. Then after that, we also started to support like 30 other agencies that we were supplying food for. So for us, having partners like the Chargers Impact Fund, Chargers football team, their Impact Fund donated to us. Angels Baseball out here, they donated to us. Partnering with IKEA, partnering with Cemex, which is a cement company, which came in that donated. Partnering with other companies like Northgate Markets, who donated us a facility, 30,000 square feet. Northgate Markets, and along with donating products to us like tortillas and put into the boxes. Having a partnership with the Orange County Food Bank, Capo C, having partnerships with the Orange County Fairgrounds, Main Place Mall, City of Santa Ana, City of Costa Mesa. The mayors within these cities that have come forward to be able to say, you know what, we see what Power One is doing. We see what your partnership with Official No One Left Behind is doing. We need you guys to keep doing what you're doing right now. And oh, by the way, can you support other people as well? Because you have congressmen, senators, and city officials that are sending people that are coming to them our way.
And we talk about the power of one. It's really one can make a difference. And for you, it's been the opportunity of just taking a small organization and doing great and mighty things. Talk to me about the power of one and how it all came about.
Okay, so the power of one originated really from my mom and my grandmother. We own another nonprofit, which is Official No One Left Behind, that I started with them. And that was the beginning of the food process of this. From this, I've also been into acting and television. And through me doing records and albums and owning radio stations, my mom was like, okay, you know what, you need to give back in a different way. So I came up with a title song called Power of One, which then led into the Power of One Foundation, because we wanted to keep everything uniform with the message and showing the power of what one individual can do. Hence, here we are, fast forward 15 years to Power of One Foundation.
Yeah. And talk to us about your career, because we do know, and I didn't mention in the beginning, that just, we're sticking with the power of one, but you are an accomplished actor, and also you've been accomplished in the music field as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been really blessed in that area. I've done a stint on Days of Our Lives, did over 150 episodes there. I was in Notorious. I've done everything from Nike, Ford, Taco Bell, Fox Sports West, as far as on the commercial side. So, Hollywood has been good to me. And I have a whole bunch of other projects that I'm doing right now. I just finished up my music show I'm getting ready to go in production on another movie. Uh, Works right now, and I've done 2 albums that I released to Warner Brothers, and now we got the Power of One single out that's gonna go in to be nominated for a Grammy. So I'm feeling really blessed right now, and all of these are efforts that I'm using to be able to bring resources back to my nonprofit.
Now, Andre, you did all that. You talked about all that stuff you did. How you gonna forget about my show, The District?
Yeah, man. Now,
But, like that's my show, man. You just like left that out.
oh, yeah, man. The District, Angel, Untitled Sunset Strip, Dangerous Minds. I've been blessed, brother. I'm not complaining.
No, and listen, I mean, and I'm just teasing you, but I did love The District and the great work there. But I want you to share about that because listen, it's important. I think you've parlayed a career, right? You've taken a career that's been in front of the camera, music, and you've turned it around and you said, I'm going to use it for activism and social justice and feeding people and dealing with the hungry and dealing with poverty. Where did that shift come in, or was that there all along?
It was actually there all along because that's something that my grandmother instilled in me. You have to understand a little bit about my history. My history is this. I was born into a family and business that takes care of the mentally challenged still to this day. We've done it for 48 years. So for 48 years, we've taken care of the mentally challenged. So we've come from a heart of servitude. That's what I was born into. And so my grandmother taught me at an early age, 13 to be exact, I'm taking care of 10 consumers. You're born to be a leader. You were born in the servitude. The truth will set you free. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So no matter where you're at in this world, no matter how high up you go, remember where you come from and remember that you always have to give back because you're not always on the top. And the same people you see on the way to the top are the same people you're going to see on the way down. So treat people and be there for people. And if there's something that you can do it.
Yeah. And while you're doing it, what are you learning in this stage? Because obviously COVID-19 has exposed a lot of things, but what are you learning about the work that you're doing right now?
With the work that I'm doing right now, what I'm really learning is I'm learning that there are a lot of beautiful people in America. See, there's a lot of negativity that's promoted. There's a lot of things going on that is causing unrest right now. But through this ugliness, you tend to see a lot of beautiful things, tend to see what God is doing. So for me, in seeing these miracles happen, you have to realize I do distributions. I have about 5 to 6 distributions a weekend, which means that I'm dealing with over 100, 150 volunteers. I've been doing this since February. COVID-19 has no names, no boundaries. I have not had one COVID case through any of my distributions. Just me, myself, putting myself out there, putting myself at risk. I've been able to do this and move forward, and the community has stepped forward. So I'm learning unity. I'm learning collaboration, and that for all the people that say that there's a lot of community that doesn't care, there's a lot of community individuals that do care, and they're voicing their opinions, and through that collaboration of voicing your opinions, change is happening.
Right. And I want to highlight this here, right? Because in the work that you've done over the past 6 months, you fed over 1 million families, 1 million families over the course of the last 6 months. But most of all, you've been able to do this with no national assistance. So as the people say, what's the secret sauce in being able to feed 1 million people 6 months, no national assistance?
That's a good question. What is that recipe? I'd have to leave that with the man upstairs because I'm just walking it. I'm footprints in the sand. He's ahead of me. But in reality terms, this is my thing. I feel that the 15 years that I had been doing this had prepared me for this pandemic, if that makes any sense.
Right.
A lot of people came into this and started doing distributions as the pandemic started. I was doing distributions 15 years leading up to this. So once the pandemic hit, and dealing with so much food over a 15-year period, I was able to stretch my resources. I was able to look at the landscape and say, okay, we don't have just 300 cars here. We actually have 8,000 cars here. It helped me prepare to where I can not only just be in one part of the city, I can be in 6 to 7 parts of the city. It taught me how to take what I've learned over 15 years and give that knowledge to someone else so that they can apply it, so they can do the same thing that I'm doing. So now we're stretching the reach out.
Right. And this is a family initiative. I mean, you said it was instilled in your grandmother, your mother, and now yourself. What do you want to pass on to people on the area of giving back, and also being able to pay it forward?
The one thing that I want to pass on to people is, number one, have faith in yourself. If you have an idea and a concept to help your next brother or your next sister, don't let lack of resources stop you. Just get on the road. Get on the road, have faith, and move, and you will slowly see the community and resources appear to be able to expand that vision that you have, because there's someone else in that same part of town or maybe across town that has that same heart perspective and view perspective that you do, that wants to accomplish the same goals as you. So
Yeah.
I say move, and always remember, keep respect of the other person and what they're going through in mind, and use your heart's compassion. And there's nothing that one person can't achieve.
Yeah. And you also talk about food, but I also notice you also do diapers as well.
Yeah, we're part of the diaper bank. So with our distribution with IKEA, we provide diapers, and that's a much needed service. I mean, that we found over the last 6 months, you know, being able to give food and diapers to a mother who can't afford any diapers right now has been a heart changer for us. You got little kids in the back seat holding up heart signs, saying thank you. Moms going through your line crying, talking about they didn't know where they were going to be able to get diapers, or there was no diapers in the store. So for us to be able to handle that need is something that's really, really dear to us.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, we'll be heading into housing as well.
Wow. Well, talk to us about the future, because you're talking about pretty soon heading into housing. What's the future looking like for the Power of One?
The future for Power of One is we want to be able to start Power of One distribution centers all across the United States in different cities. Um, we also want to start our housing initiative, which allows us to build houses for veterans and low-income families. We actually have our first 40 acres that are donated to us out here in the desert that we're going to be able to start this project on. We're also part of a theme park that's going to deal with all nationalities, cultures, which is going to be called One World, that I'm really excited about. And then in the not too distant future, we also have some human trafficking initiatives that we'd like to get into.
Yeah. I think the country right now is at a pivotal place, and obviously a seminal moment in terms of activism. And you have already been engaged in activism, and it's almost like, it's just come full circle. It's almost like with lack of better saying, a perfect storm, where now your resources are meeting up with what you've already done, and now things are just colliding for you. Do you feel like, that things are just like coming full stride?
Absolutely. I'd have to agree with you there. It's funny. I've done this for 15 years. Me nor my family have ever made a paycheck from this. Not from the other nonprofit and not from this nonprofit. No one makes a paycheck. I apologize that it took a pandemic for people to see the work that we've been doing. But that's what it took. It took a pandemic for people to see what we've been doing in the community, and how the community and the higher ups are standing behind us because of the purpose and what we stand for. And we're not just talk, we're action. You see it in the community, you experience it.
Go back to me for the food distribution component, because when we talk about giving away food, you got to get your food from somewhere. Talk about that partnership with the food suppliers, and how hard was that to convince them that this was the right thing to do, and also to be a part of the program?
Now, beautiful part about my partners is, number one, if I would have went in there and asked them, could I do what I've done that allowed us to move forward to feed 1.5 million people, they would have told me no. So I went in there with having a 14-year partnership with them, and I said, hey, you know what? I'm part of this program. Can I have enough food to feed 7,000 people? They just so happened to give it to me. When they gave it to me, I knew what to do with it. And then once I showed them physically what I can do, that allowed them to really see, oh, wow, this is how he's doing it. This is the way he set up his system. Let's help him keep this going. So the Orange County Food Bank, along with the LA Food Bank, Food Forward, have really been my champions because you have to realize they supplied me over 80,000 boxes a week that we were giving out in phase 2. In phase 1, we were doing about 60,000 boxes a week. Now we're in phase 3. Phase 3, we're ramping up and also moving outside of the country. So, and moving over to different states. So their partnership and their support has been key to the success of Power of One and Official Don't Left Behind.
Amazing, amazing work. And when you say these families being fed, as I said before, over the course of 6 months, 1 million families fed with no real national assistance. And when people talk about getting federal funds or needing these funds in order to be able to make it, you've proven that it can be done. And sometimes you don't have to rely on the government to be able to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm just, I was raised like this. Don't sit and wait for somebody to help you. Figure it out, move forward, get it done. And, I said, I don't know how many people would sacrifice on the level that we've done it, but this was our calling. And there were many days that I'm sitting up here like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? But then I go to a distribution and I have a little kid going through the line with a sign talking about thank you so much, or a family walking up to me like we had no food in our refrigerator. You just gave us 80 pounds of food, 100 pounds of food, and oh my God, thank you. And so that kept me going every week. And so I'm like this, when your heart is in the right and you know what you're going to do, don't worry about the big corporate sponsorships, different things. That's going to come. They got to see what you're doing and they got to join the fight if they really care for their community and the community that they're serving and the community that are buying their products.
Right. And I mean, here's this. When you're doing the work, you'll be recognized for it sooner or later. And obviously, the time is coming now where you're actually being recognized, the power of one. So give somebody, from your perspective, a motivational message, if you will, about just being that one and how one can actually make a difference.
Well, I'm like this, talking to that person. Number one, you have enough strength to move this whole world. And all of us are connected in some way, shape, or form. No matter your nationality, no matter what language you speak, we're all connected. So if you're willing to put yourself out there, you got to be willing to put yourself out there with no expectations. You have to believe in what you're doing and know that it's right for yourself and right for the person that's next to you. Your heart will lead you in the right directions, and other people that have the same heart capacity you do will join you. It's inevitable because it's the law of nature and energy.
Andre, it's been great connecting with you, and I want to leave you with the opportunity before we go to just tell people how they can get connected to you, how they can get connected to the power of one.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on and just allowing me to speak from my heart and tell everybody about the Power of One Foundation. And you can find us at powerofonefoundation.org. You can find us on our social media, Instagram, Facebook, Power of One Foundation, Poof, POOF, which is Power of One Foundation, because we poof everybody. We let them know so they can join us. And those are some of the immediate best ways to get us. And on our website, we have a lot of information about the program, different things and food that we supply. And we have our emails and different things on, so contact us.
All righty. Andre Roberson, our guest, CEO, Executive Director of Power of One. Thank you so much for being with us here on the Social Justice Forum, making a difference across the world. Over the course of the last 6 months, 1 million families being fed through the Power of One. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you. I thank the Social Justice Platform for having us, and we look forward to having an update in the future because we're headed towards 2 million right now.
That's what I'm talking about. All right. Well, that's Andre Roberson, our guest here on the Social Justice Forum.